Ever notice how some people just sound smarter? It's fascinating, isn't it? It's not always about the big words they use or the complex ideas they discuss more often. It's about what they don't say. There are certain phrases, certain reactions that truly intelligent people, especially those who've embraced Stoicism, consistently avoid. And today, we're going to dive deep into 6 of those phrases. These aren't just about polishing your vocabulary, they're about cultivating a Stoic mindset of clarity, control, and genuine understanding. This is about more than just sounding intelligent. It's about becoming more intelligent in how you approach life. If that sounds good, and I hope it does, do me a favor. Real quick, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. Because here we are all about building that life of resilience and wisdom. And stick around because what we're about to cover can transform the way you interact with the world. It's not fair. How many times have you heard that? Or even said it yourself? We hear it from kids on the playground. We hear it in workplace disputes. We even hear it echoing in our own heads when things don't go our way. But here's the Stoic truth. Fairness, as we often perceive it, is a human construct. It's a subjective idea we impose on the world life. Reality itself, it's impartial. It doesn't operate on a system of fairness designed to make us feel comfortable. Think of nature. A storm doesn't decide to be fair to the trees. It uproots. A predator doesn't consider the fairness of hunting. Its prey. These things simply are. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, and a profound Stoic philosopher, wrote extensively about adversity in his meditations. He didn't whine about the unfairness of his burdens, the betrayals he faced, or the constant pressures of leading an empire. Instead, he focused on what he could control: his own responses, his own judgments, his own actions. Complaining about unfairness is a subtle but powerful form of externalizing your locus of control. You're essentially saying my well-being depends on external circumstances being arranged in a way I deem fair. That's a recipe for frustration and disappointment. A truly intelligent person, a Stoic, shifts their focus. They don't waste energy on what should be. They focus on what is and how they can best respond to it. They strive for justice, for doing what is right, but they don't expect the universe to magically conform to their personal definition of fairness. I remember once early in my career, I was passed over for a promotion. I felt I deserved. I worked incredibly hard, put in extra hours, and I was convinced it was my turn when someone else got the position. My initial reaction was, it's not fair. I stood in that feeling for days, letting it affect my mood and my work. But then I remembered my Stoic teachings. I realized that my frustration wasn't serving me. It wasn't changing the outcome. It was only making me miserable. So I shifted my perspective. I asked myself, what can I control in this situation? I could control my attitude, my work ethic, and my response to the setback. I couldn't control the decision that had already been made. Focusing on what I could control, I decided to learn from the experience, to improve my skills, and to continue striving for excellence. That shift in mindset, the rejection of "it's not fair" mentality, was a turning point for me. Think about a time you felt something was profoundly unfair. Really picture it. Now considers how a Stoic approach, focusing on your response, accepting what you can't control, could have helped you navigate that situation with more clarity and peace of mind. I can't. This simple phrase is a potent self-limitation. It's a declaration of defeat before the battle even begins. The Stoics, however, believe fiercely in the power of human potential. They understood that while we may have external limitations, things we genuinely cannot control, our internal capacity for growth and resilience is far greater than we often realize. Now it's important to distinguish between genuine limitations and perceived limitations. We're not talking about denying reality. If you're 5't tall, you're probably not going to play center in the NBA. But how many times do we say "I can't" to things that are actually within our reach? Things that simply require effort, perseverance, and a willingness to step outside our comfort zone. I can't learn that new skill. I can't start that business. He can't overcome this challenge. These are often perceived limitations rooted in fear, self-doubt, or a lack of willingness to try. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, emphasized the importance of focusing on what is within our power. He taught that our will, our judgments, our ability to choose our response to any situation, these are always within our control, And it's within this realm of control that we discover our true potential. The Stoics champion the virtue of courage, not just bravery in the face of physical danger, but the courage to face any challenge, any obstacle with a resolute spirit. They believed in pushing themselves and striving to become better versions of themselves, regardless of external circumstances. This aligns perfectly with a modern concept of a growth mindset, as opposed to a fixed mindset. A fixed mind ET says, I'm either good at this or I'm not. My abilities are static, a growth mindset. Much like the Stoic perspective says, I can learn, I can improve, I can grow, even if it's difficult. Think about learning a new language or mastering a musical instrument or starting a new fitness routine. The initial stages are often challenging. We stumble, we make mistakes, we feel frustrated, as Kent voice, whisper in our. But if we persist, if we embrace the challenge, we gradually improve. We pro to ourselves that the I can't was a lie. I want you to do a little thought exercise right now. Think of something you've told yourself. You can't do something that's been holding you back. Write it down. If you can, now ask yourself, is this a genuine limitation or a perceived limitation? Be totally honest with yourself if it's a perceived limitation. What's one small step you can take today to challenge that belief? What's one action you can take to move towards that goal, even if it feels daunting? What is stopping you is only yourself inting this phrase, or any variation of it, is the antithesis of true intelligence. It's a declaration of inul arrogance, a sign that learning has stopped and ego has taken over the wisest individuals. The ones who truly understand the vastness of knowledge are the ones who embrace intellectual humility. They recognize that no matter how much they know, there's always more to learn. The Socratic paradox, I know that I know nothing, is a cornerstone of this mindset. Socrates, one of the greatest philosophers of all time, famously claimed that wisdom stemmed from his awareness of his own ignorance. This wasn't false modesty, it was a genuine recognition of the limits of human knowledge. And this concept aligns beautifully with Stoic philosophy. The Stoics were dedicated to lifelong learning, they believed in, constantly seeking wisdom, both from their own reflections and from the experiences and insights of others. Seneca, a prominent Roman Stoic, wrote extensively about the importance of learning from those who came before us, from mentors, and even from our own mistakes. He emphasized that the pursuit of wisdom is a continuous journey, not a destination. Claiming to know everything is not only arrogant, it's also incredibly limiting. It closes the door to new perspectives, new ideas, new discoveries. It prevents us from growing, from evolving, from becoming better versions of ourselves. Think about the most knowledgeable people. You know, the true experts in their fields. They are often the ones who are most eager to learn, most open to new information, most willing to admit when they don't know something. They understand that knowledge is a vast ocean and they are merely exploring its shores. They're driven by curiosity, by a thirst for understanding, not by a need to appear all-knowing. I encourage you to cultivate a beginner's mind in all areas of your life. Approach every situation, every conversation, every new piece of information with a sense of openness and curiosity. Be willing to question your own assumptions, to challenge your own beliefs. To admit when you don't know something. This isn't about undermining your confidence. It's about embracing the reality that learning is a lifelong process. That's just how I am. This phrase is a dangerous excuse. It's a way of abdicating responsibility for our own character, our own actions, our own reactions. It's a way of saying, I'm not willing to change, even if change is necessary for my own well-being and the well-being of others. Stoicism, at its core, is about actively shaping our character. It's about taking control of our inner world, our thoughts, our judgments, our responses, and striving to become the best versions of ourselves. The Stoics believed in the power of prose, heresis, our faculty of choice, our ability to choose our response to any given situation. This is the essence of self-mastery. We are not simply puppets of our emotions, our impulses, or our ingrained habits. We have the power to choose how we react, how we behave, how we treat others. Accepting our flaws without striving for improvement is fundamentally contrary to Stoic principles. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, constantly reminds himself to be patient, to be kind, to be just, to control his anger, to overcome his laziness. He doesn't say, well, I'm just an impatient person. So that's how I'm going to be. He actively works on his character, striving to align his actions with his Stoic ideals. The process of self-improvement is not easy. It requires honest self-reflection, a willingness to identify our flaws, and a commitment to making consistent, gradual changes. It's about recognizing our negative emotions and impulses, anger, jealousy, envy, fear, and learning to manage them to prevent them from controlling our behavior. Let's do another practical exercise. Think of a negative trait or habit that you'd like to change, something that you often excuse with the phrase, "that's just how I am." Maybe it's a tendency to be short-tempered or to procrastinate or to be overly critical of yourself or others now. Instead of accepting this trait as an unchangeable part of your personality, develop a Stoic action plan. What are some specific steps you can take to address this trait? How can you use Stoic principles such as mindfulness, self-awareness, and the dichotomy of control to gradually change your behavior? Remember, change doesn't happen overnight, it's a process. But the key is to start to take that first step and to commit to consistent effort. The Stoics believe that we are all capable of profound transformation and that it's our duty to strive for that transformation throughout our lives. They made me feel this phrase or any variation of it is a subtle but powerful denial of personal responsibility. It's a way of blaming others for our own emotional state, of giving away our power to external forces. The Stoics understood a fundamental truth about emotions. They are not caused by external events, but by our judgments about those events. This is the core of the Stoic model of emotions. It goes like this. An external event occurs. We form a judgment about that event, good, bad, threatening, unfair, etc. That judgment triggers an emotional response. It's not the event itself that makes us angry, sad, or fearful. It's our interpretation of the event. Epictetus, in his Ennead, emphasizes this point repeatedly. He says it is not things themselves that disturb men, but their judgments about these things. This is a profound and empowering realization. If our emotions are the result of our judgments, then we have the power to change our emotions by changing our judgments. We are not helpless victims of external circumstances. We have the ability to choose how we respond, to choose how we interpret events, to choose how we feel. Taking ownership of our emotional responses is crucial for building emotional resilience. It's about recognizing that while we may not be able to control what happens to us, we always have control over how we react. It's about refusing to give away our power to others to allow them to dictate our emotional state. This doesn't mean suppressing our emotions or pretending they don't exist. Healthy emotional expression is important, but there's a vast difference between expressing our emotions in a healthy way and blaming others for causing those emotions the next time you find yourself feeling a strong negative emotion. Anger, frustration, resentment. Try to identify the underlying judgment. What belief, what interpretation is fueling that emotion? Are you assuming something negative about someone else's intentions? Are you labeling a situation as unfair or unacceptable? Once you identify the judgment, you can begin to challenge it. Is it really true? Is it based on facts or on assumptions? Is there another way to interpret the situation? This simple technique, which I call the Stoic pause, can be incredibly powerful. It allows you to interrupt the automatic cycle of judgment and reaction to create a space for conscious choice and to take ownership of your emotional response. It's a key step in developing Stoic emotional resilience. While it might feel true in moments of intense pressure or difficulty, this phrase often masks a reluctance to explore alternatives, a fear of responsibility, or a lack of creative problem-solving. Stoics, and indeed highly intelligent individuals, understand that even in the most constrained circumstances, there are almost always options, even if those options are simply about choosing one's attitude or internal response. Let's revisit a core Stoic concept, the dichotomy of control. We've touched on it earlier, but it's central to understanding why I have no choice is rarely a stoically sound statement. We can't control external events, the actions of others, or many of the circumstances we find ourselves in. But we always have control over our internal response, our judgments, our attitudes, our choices about how to react. Even in seemingly impossible situations, we have the choice to accept what we cannot change, to focus on what we can influence, and to maintain our inner integrity. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, provides a powerful example of this in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. He describes how even in the unimaginable horrors of a concentration camp, he and others were able to find meaning and purpose. By choosing their attitude, by focusing on their inner strength, and by finding small acts of kindness and resilience. Now, I'm not suggesting that all choices are easy or pleasant. Sometimes our options are limited and difficult. We might face situations where all the available paths involve sacrifice, hardship, or discomfort, but that doesn't mean we have no choice. It means we have to weigh our options, carefully consider the consequences, and choose the path that aligns best with our values and our long-term goals. Often the feeling of having no choice stems from a narrow perspective. We're so focused on one particular outcome, one specific path, that we fail to see other possibilities. We might be blinded by fear, by anger, by a sense of desperation. A Stoic approach encourages us to step back, to examine the situation with a clear and objective mind, and to consider all the available options, even those that might initially seem unappealing. I want you to make a habit of the next time you feel cornered, you think to yourself, I have no choice. Make a list, write down every possible course of action, no matter how small, how unlikely, or how undesirable it might seem. This exercise can help you break free from a limiting belief that you have no control and to recognize the agency you possess. Even in difficult circumstances, you have options. Sometimes you're just unable to see them, but always remember you have the power to choose. So we've journeyed through 6 phrases that highly intelligent people, those grounded in Stoic principles, tend to avoid. It's not fair. I know everything. That's just how I am. They made me feel. And I have no choice. Each of these phrases represents a mindset, a way of thinking that limits our potential, hinders our growth, and undermines our ability to live a flourishing life. The Stoic path to intelligent communication isn't about memorizing a list of forbidden phrases. It's about cultivating a deeper understanding of ourselves, of the world around us, and of our power to choose our responses. It's about embracing reality, accepting what we cannot control, and focusing on what we can influence: our own thoughts, judgments, and actions. It's about striving for wisdom, for virtue, for resilience, not just for the sake of appearing intelligent, but for the sake of living a more meaningful and fulfilling life. I encourage you to actively practice these principles in your daily interactions. Be mindful of your language, of the phrases you use, both internally and externally. Challenge yourself to reframe your thinking, to shift your perspective, to embrace the Stoic mindset. It's a journey, not a destination. There will be times when you slip up, when you fall back into old patterns of thought and speech. That's okay. The key is to keep practicing, to keep striving, to keep learning. And remember, true intelligence isn't just about what. It's about how you think, how you respond, and how you communicate. Embrace the Stoic filter, and you'll not only sound smarter, you'll be smarter, more resilient, and more equipped to navigate the challenges and opportunities of life. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Stoic wisdom. Who you found it, value, let me know in the comments which of these phrases resonated with you the most, which ones you're going to work on, and any other thoughts or questions you have. And as always, if you found this video helpful, please share it with anyone who might benefit from a little Stoic wisdom. Your support means the world to me, and thanks for being part of this community. Thanks for choosing the path of Stoic ascent.